After what seemed like hours, they reached the cluster of boulders glimpsed earlier. A shallow crevice between two large rocks provided just enough shelter. Singh collapsed, shivering violently. Raiden and Silva worked quickly to make him comfortable. When done, Silva retrieved ration packs and canteens from her pack. She said, "Eat, it will help warm you." Raiden accepted gratefully. He was very hungry indeed. As they ate, he turned to Lieutenant Silva, asking, "Before the wildfire, how did you and Dr. Singh come to be here?" Silva sighed, her face illuminated by the occasional flash of lightning as a fierce storm raged outside. She leaned forward, her eyes intense as she began to recount the events. "After the rift swallowed you," she began, her eyes distant and haunted, "our scientific team meticulously analyzed the data collected from that creature." She paused, her fingers unconsciously tracing a pattern in the dust, and added, "What surprised and worried us was finding a strange symbol etched into its skin." "The symbol was unlike anything we'd ever seen," she said tersely, continuing. "It pulsed with this strange energy, like it was alive." She paused, watching Raiden's reaction, before stating, "Dr. Singh believed it was more than just a marking. He thought it could be a portal key, an encoded mechanism that controls access to the rift or determines who or what can pass through." "A portal key?" Raiden leaned in closer, his interest piqued. "The energy readings were completely alien," Silva continued, saying, "Dr. Singh kept saying it might serve a precise function, possibly influencing the portal's behavior or defining its purpose. It seemed deliberate, almost malicious, as if it was designed with intent. Every time we analyzed the data, we found something new, something terrifying." Raiden cut in, saying quietly, "I saw the symbol too. When I killed the beast, I noticed it etched into its skin. It was glowing, deliberate, like it meant something." Silva nodded, a grim smile crossing her face, and said, "Exactly. And then the rift started to destabilize. Dr. Singh discovered something horrifying. That time itself was becoming unpredictable. Anyone who entered or exited might not occupy the same dimensional plane." Her voice dropped, becoming more intense as she recalled. "We were working frantically, trying to understand what was happening. And then—" She paused dramatically, continuing, "the rift began to reform. The monitors started spiking." She continued, her hands mimicking the erratic movement. "The air was crackling with this impossible energy. Dr. Singh was desperate, trying to control something that couldn't be controlled." Raiden leaned closer, his breath catching as he asked, "What happened next?" "The pull was incredible," Silva said, her voice trembling slightly. "We tried to hold on, but it was useless. The rift, it was like a living thing. It yanked us through, despite everything we did to resist." Dr. Singh, lying nearby, stirred slightly at her words, the memory of their violent passage through the dimensional rift still fresh in his mind. "We're here now," Silva finished, her eyes meeting Raiden's, "and I don't think we're anywhere near where we started. Dr. Singh believes we've traveled deeper into the past than any known era, or possibly into an alternate dimensional strand severed off from our timeline." The storm continued to roar outside their rocky shelter, as if witnessing their isolation in this strange world. Captain Rhys remained silent, chewing on the foraged plants and sipping the rainwater they had collected. He could see Dr. Singh huddled nearby, his injuries from the journey clearly taking a toll. Raiden passed some of the meager food and water to his wounded companion, wishing he could do more to ease his suffering. As they rested, Raiden recounted to Silva and Singh his ordeal in the maze-like tunnels beneath the mountain, how some pursuit had dogged his steps in the pitch blackness, driving him ever deeper until he emerged into the strange phosphorescent cavern and its enigmatic ruins hewn from living stone. The carvings I saw defied any style known to archaeology, he said, adding, "It was as if the rock itself had come alive, the patterns shifting and morphing before my eyes. This place feels drenched in a sense of otherworldliness I can't explain." Singh leaned in, fascinated despite his injuries, and asked, "Do you think intelligent beings from another world may have visited this planet long ago, establishing some outpost or colony here?" Before Raiden could reply, lightning flashed outside, briefly illuminating monstrous silhouettes moving beyond the tree line, and he said, "We'll have to solve such mysteries another time. That storm shows no sign of abating." Thunder rumbled loudly outside, shaking loose pebbles from the cavern's ceiling, and as the sound echoed through the cavern, an unsettling silence followed. Silva's frown deepened, the weight of their situation pressing down on them as she asked, "Could this be some kind of outpost? I mean, how else would such sophisticated architecture fit into an era like this?" Raiden nodded slowly, his gaze lingering on the eerie ruins as the storm outside intensified, and wondered aloud, "It's possible. But who built it, and to what end?" At dawn, Silva gently shook Raiden awake. "I hear movement coming from the tunnel entrance," she whispered. They peered outside, spotting 4 figures approaching, silhouetted against the dim light. Their attire was a blend of black and red, giving them a mysterious and intimidating appearance. They wore strange, shape-conforming masks that completely covered their faces, obscuring their features. In their hands, they carried peculiar devices that could indeed be weapons, their designs unlike anything they had ever seen. Before they could decide the newcomer's nature, the cave entrance flooded with torchlight. 4 armed figures stood surveying the trio, their movements deliberate and precise. When Raiden made to rise, they leveled their weapons with mechanical whirs and clicks. Rising slowly with hands raised, they allowed them to bind their wrists. The captors led them out of the cave. The rain had subsided, but the ground was still slippery and muddy. They started walking through the forest ravaged by the fire, soon veering off the familiar path. The strangers guided them along barely visible, rugged trails, winding between the massive tree roots and scattered rocks. "Where are they taking us?" Lieutenant Silva whispered, trying not to let her voice tremble. Raiden shook his head silently. He had no idea. All he knew was that these people were not friendly. After a long while, the terrain began to change. The scattered trees started giving way to strange rock formations, and then colossal stone structures with bizarre shapes emerged, reminding him of the ones he saw when he exited the tunnel. Giant-like buildings loomed in the distance. "Look at that," Singh said softly, his astonishment evident even under these circumstances. "What a construction!" The buildings were towering, made of a glossy black material Raiden couldn't identify. Their shapes were geometric and intricate, surpassing anything he had ever seen. An eerie silence enveloped the place, suggesting the power and endurance of this civilization through the ages. "It must be an incredibly technologically advanced civilization," Silva commented, gazing in awe at the towers piercing the gray sky. "Yet, it feels like it's waiting for its moment of awakening," Raiden added, a strange feeling of dread creeping into his heart. The captors led them through wide streets paved with smooth black slabs, showing no signs of erosion or damage, despite their apparent age. There were no visible windows in any of the buildings, only massive entrances with strange arches. The place radiated a mysterious and unsettling aura. "This place, it's like a dream," Singh whispered, his eyes flitting between the breathtaking architectural details. "A disturbing dream, more likely," Raiden retorted, cautiously surveying their surroundings. He knew that a deceptive exterior often hid dangerous secrets. They finally reached a massive building that differed from the rest. It was larger and more opulent, adorned with intricate carvings faintly illuminated by unseen light sources. The captors led them inside through a majestic entrance that seemed to swallow them whole. The interior was spacious and strangely lit. The walls were smooth, but Raiden's attention was drawn to the etchings that adorned the walls, depictions of a figure, as though carved to immortalize someone significant. The figure had harsh features, a twisted smile that hinted at malicious intent, and an air of dominance that seemed to seep from the walls themselves. The etchings attempted to convey an otherworldly glow emanating from the suit he wore, though the effect was subtle and open to interpretation. Even in the static medium, the intricate lines suggested a radiance, adding to the figure's terrifying and commanding presence. The intelligence and authority etched into his form felt almost tangible, stirring an unsettling fear deep within Raiden. Captain Rhys looked at Silva and Singh and found that they were also staring at the etchings, their expressions a mix of awe and curiosity. As they continued through the corridors, they approached a large gate. Two armed guards, dressed in black uniforms with red inscriptions and masks, stood sentinel. Their captor spoke to one of the guards, who then unlocked the gate with an electronic keypad. Dr. Singh, injured and struggling, had difficulty keeping up with the group. Beyond the gate was a vast room filled with soldiers donning the same black uniform and strange-looking masks. After a nervous wait, a figure with an intimidating presence stepped forward. He was the same person whose images they had just seen on the walls moments ago. He was wearing the glowing suit, and his features were like those they saw in the pictures. His appearance in nature was more terrifying than the pictures. Pacing back and forth, with a loud command, he ordered their restraints to be removed. With a calculated air of authority and a chilling undertone, saying, "I am Zerakul," he would declare, his voice commanding and resolute. The leader of this operation and the master of this domain. He would pause, letting his words sink in, studying their reactions carefully. His glowing suit would cast an eerie light, matching the intensity of his gaze. Then his voice cut through the silence, sharp and probing. "Who are you? And how did you come here?" Raiden stepped forward, his gaze steady but wary. "I am Captain Raiden Rhys, from the police forces." He nodded to the others, introducing Lieutenant Silva and Dr. Singh. Zerakul's eyes narrowed as he absorbed their presence. His commanding voice filled the air as he spoke, every word weighted with authority. He paced slowly, his gaze flicking between Raiden, Silva, and Singh. But when his eyes landed on Dr. Singh, there was a subtle shift in his demeanor. His gaze lingered a moment too long on Singh, a flicker of recognition, though not from a place of familiarity. Dr. Singh, sensing the intense scrutiny, visibly stiffened. He shifted his weight uncomfortably, his eyes darting away from Zerakul's gaze, as if avoiding some unspoken truth. His hand clenched briefly at his side, betraying his calm exterior. The fear he tried to mask was evident in the slight tremor of his posture, as though something about Zerakul triggered a memory or fear that he desperately wanted to conceal. Zerakul took note of this, a faint smirk tugging at the corner of his lips, though he said nothing. Instead, he continued to observe Singh with an almost predatory intensity, as though waiting for the doctor to crack under the pressure of his gaze. Raiden, watching this, felt the weight of something unspoken pressing down, though he couldn't quite place it. The air was thick with tension, but it was Singh who felt its full force, visibly unsettled by Zerakul's relentless stare. After a long, unsettling silence, he said, addressing them, How did you get here? Raiden explained to him in detail the chaotic events that led them to this point. Zerakal listened, his smile growing wider and more unsettling with every word, as though each revelation confirmed something he already suspected. Interesting, he murmured, his tone laced with both intrigue and a hint of menace, as if piecing together a puzzle only he could see. Take Dr. Singh to treat him, Zerakal commanded. Two of his soldiers stepped forward and began to lead the injured Dr. Singh away. Raiden and Silva exchanged anxious glances, the tension between them palpable. Raiden, summoning his courage, asked, "Who are you, and what do you want from us?" Zerakal's response was immediate and harsh. "I'm the only one asking here," he snapped, his voice echoing off the walls. He gestured to his soldiers, "Take them so they can be looked into." The soldiers moved to comply. Raiden and Silva found themselves being led away, their fate uncertain. The guards marched Raiden and Silva down the dimly lit corridors, the eerie glow from the walls casting long shadows. The air was thick with tension as they traversed deeper into the complex. After what felt like an eternity, they were ushered into a vast chamber filled with advanced machinery and numerous scientists, all bustling about their workstations. The hum of equipment and the occasional beeping of devices created a surreal symphony of futuristic sounds. The soldiers stopped, and one of them shouted an order to get out. A moment later, two figures emerged from the throng of scientists, a man and a woman, both wearing white lab coats and carrying an air of authority. The man stepped forward, his expression stern but curious. "I am Dr. Kroll, and this is Dr. Alera," he introduced, gesturing to the woman beside him. "We are the lead scientists working under Commander Zerakal." Raiden straightened his posture and took a step forward, introducing himself and Silva. He then spoke, his tone calm but firm. "Let me make this clear. We were brought here against our will, abducted, and we demand an explanation for what's going on." Dr. Alera's eyes softened, though her voice remained calm. "We understand your frustration," she began carefully. "Commander Zerakal's plans are ambitious. He is trying to reshape reality itself, using time manipulation to assert complete control over the flow of events." "Time manipulation?" Silva echoed, her tone sharp with disbelief. "That's insanity. You can't play with time without consequences." Dr. Kroll let out a weary sigh. "We agree. Zerakal's methods are dangerous, but his vision is absolute. He won't tolerate resistance." Raiden cut in, his voice cold and unyielding. "Don't try to justify him. We've seen what he's capable of. Zerakal doesn't care about a better world. He only cares about his own power. People like him always do." The two scientists exchanged a quiet glance, and for a moment, the room seemed to hold its breath. Finally, Dr. Alera spoke, her voice low. "We don't support him. We were once in your position, forced into this nightmare. But over time, we've gathered knowledge, and with the right allies, we believe we can stop him." Raiden's eyes narrowed, scanning their faces for any trace of deceit. "What are you suggesting?" Dr. Kroll leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Zerakal's control over time is powerful, and his system is extensive. But with your skills and our knowledge, we might find a way to interfere with his plans." Silva crossed her arms, her skepticism still evident. "And what exactly do you need from us?" Dr. Alera glanced around the room cautiously before replying. "There's a central database containing all critical data about Zerakal's operations. If we can access it, we can uncover vital information that may allow us to bring an end to his plans." Raiden's expression remained grim. "Let me guess. It's in the most heavily fortified part of this place." Dr. Kroll nodded solemnly. "Exactly. The heart of the fortress. It's nearly impenetrable. Raiden mulled over the idea, weighing their options. Finally, he spoke, his tone steady and resolute. We'll work with you, but understand this. If either of you betrays us, no amount of time or space will protect you from what comes next. Dr. Alera placed a hand on his arm, her voice earnest. We won't betray you. Our goal is the same as yours, to stop Zerakel and end his manipulation of time before it's too late. Raiden nodded slowly, his eyes narrowing as he processed the implications of their alliance. Let's move forward, then. No room for mistakes. With that settled, Raiden and Silva were huddled with Dr. Alera and Dr. Kroll, planning their infiltration of Zerakel's central database. The gravity of their situation weighed heavily on them all. If we can access the main control room, Dr. Alera was saying, pointing to a holographic map, we should be able to. She was cut off by a sudden burst of static from Raiden's suit communicator. Everyone froze, staring at the device in shock. Is that? Lieutenant Silva began, her voice trailing off in disbelief. Raiden quickly activated the communicator, his heart racing. This is Captain Rhys. Who's there? Over. The voice that came through was distorted and filled with interference, but unmistakably from their own time. Captain, thank God. This is Dr. Chun from the research facility. The sound coming from the device was faint and filled with static, but it was clear enough to make Raiden stop for a moment, staring at the device before pressing the button to speak. Dr. Chun, how did you reach us? We thought communication with your facility was impossible due to the rift. The voice hesitated for a moment before Dr. Chun replied with a tense tone. It was impossible to make sense of it for a while, but something strange began happening. The data we collected about the rift started behaving differently. The patterns, they aren't random anymore. Silva exchanged a glance with Raiden, who remained calm but alert. He spoke cautiously. What do you mean by not random? Chin responded quickly, as if time was running out. I can't explain it all now, but we're starting to notice consistencies. It's as if the rift itself holds some kind of structure, like a system designed for a purpose. Raiden's tone sharpened, though he kept it controlled. Dr. Chun, what are you trying to tell us? What does this have to do with the symbol we saw on the creature? Chin's voice crackled slightly through the device. The symbol on the creature's skin isn't just decoration. It's a mark, an identifier linked to something much larger. Raiden frowned. An identifier? For what? Chun continued, his voice growing tenser as faint static increased in the background. From our research, we've developed a theory that the world you're in might be connected to remnants of an ancient civilization. One that understood concepts far beyond our grasp. The symbol, Captain, it might be tied to something called the point of time. If this theory is right, it's not just a place. It's the anchor for manipulating events across history. And if someone figures out how to control it. Raiden interrupted seriously, he already knows. But we're currently under Zerakel's control. He's using Singh's knowledge to enhance his power. When Singh's name was mentioned, Dr. Alera tensed and asked in a low but sharp voice, Dr. Singh, you mean the physicist who disappeared years ago during an experiment? Silva looked at her cautiously. Do you know him? Alera replied with a dark expression, I've read his research. His theories on time mechanics were revolutionary. If he's here, that means Zerakel has everything he needs to weaponize the timeline. Raiden clenched his fist, leaning against the wall, thinking about his next move. We need to find the point of time before Zerakel does. The static on the communication device rose noticeably, making it harder to hear clearly. Then Shin said with difficulty, Captain, who is this Zerakel, and why does it seem like he has all this influence? Raiden felt a lump in his throat, but responded sharply. Zerakel is just another madman. Someone with incredible technological power who believes he can impose his will on the entire timeline. He's captured me, Silva, and Singh, and is using us to carry out his plans. Kroll retorted with a scowl. But we have to admit, he's smart. Smart enough to make the entire world a game in his hands. Suddenly, Silva raised her voice, speaking to Kroll. Do you know? Sometimes I think you wouldn't mind being part of that game. Dr. Kroll glared at her angrily. I'm only here because I'm forced to be. If I had a choice, I would have left long ago. Alara quickly intervened. Enough. We have more important matters than your personal squabbles. Captain Rhys, what about the point of time? Raiden answered. We need to get to it first before Zeracle does. We'll need a plan to breach the database first, then locate the point. Chin's voice came through the device, barely audible due to the static. If this Zeracle is protecting the point of time, it's likely Dr. Singh is placed near it to ensure control over everything. Suddenly, the connection was completely cut off, making everyone exchange worried glances. They were now completely isolated, left with only a risky plan and a faint hope of survival.